Oh yeah, cool. Okay. So I'll jump in and do 5-1 and then I will take a break here. So I'll just do one and take a break. I know. This one, 5-1. It says open up 1-4 from week one. So I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna go to inventor and open up problem 1-4. So I have it in my file structure somewhere, I hope. 1-4. It's in my week one stuff. We didn't do it in class together at all, right? So this is your own. Yeah, we never did this one together. So I have mine done. You should have yours done. We didn't do it together, but you should have it done, I hope. It was from last week. So I'm gonna do a modification on it. So these were the original. Yeah, this is last week's. This is problem 1-4 from last week. So problem 5-1 is gonna be just modifying this solid. And um so I open up problem 1-4, and I'm gonna just this is pretty common. This isn't shown in the book, but this is the way I would make a copy of that, which isn't it's not like that mind blowing here, but pretty common. Like if I'm working with other people and they have something that's close that I'm going to use, I may pull it from a library system and I'm just going to make a copy of it. So I'm not going to maybe mess up their library part or whatever. And this is how I would like. Sometimes I explore different design. Sometimes I'll have something that is, okay, here's the library part, but we need it to be changed into this other to work. Like I have a foundational part to start with, but I've got to modify it to do what I really want to do with it. This is pretty common. Instead of having to start from scratch, I might start from something and be able to modify it into something I want. It's just when I do that, and initially when I open the file that I'm using to do that, I'm going to save a copy of it so I'm not messing up this original file. And so it's pretty common, like if I'm going to steal somebody else's work, which in the drafting world, we beg, borrow, and steal from each other all the time. If you've got something close, I'm going to steal it and use it for mine. And then I'm just going to do a save as. So if on your file tab, where we would do, we'll get into this, especially when we start exporting into a PDF and stuff, but just do a save as, but do a save copy as. And this is how I can totally like make sure that I'm not messing up the original part, that I'm getting a whole fresh copy that I can totally manipulate. So I will sometimes do this just when I'm exploring some design. Like I've got a part that's maybe a complicated part. I don't want to blow it all up and like ruin it. I might make a copy of that part and then blow that thing up and not worry about it so much and try to like troubleshoot it. So I do this on time. I will use this technique when I'm actually making a modification also to my own part. If I don't want to mess up the original and I just want to explore what's the best way to change something on it without it blowing up on me, I can kind of do that in a controlled environment or with a part that's not attached to my part. Because if you're borrowing somebody else's part for your assemblies and you make a change to that part, and you've never made a copy of that part, their assembly is going to change too. And so this is the danger of all working from library parts. It's why usually the library parts system in a drafting environment, they will maybe have only one copy that you have to check out to make changes and then check it back in. And even though you think you might have checked it out, you're making changes. If you didn't check out the part, none of your changes will be saved. So it's kind of this weird thing where we do protect, our part integrities, but we can make copies of those and then explore them and not worry about messing up somebody else's model that this could be in. That's the other thing. When you're working in a collaborative group and you're sharing parts, you could make a change on it and you don't realize that you've never made a copy of it, and now you're changing somebody else's assembly. Then you feel really bad, usually. And you usually don't know it until they go to open their part and they're like, "Hey, who changed that part? Oh my gosh, it's all blown up in my assembly now." Yeah, this is the reality of when we share parts. So there's a good reason for doing that. It's just to streamline our. But if it's a real library part, we usually lock people out so they can't make changes to it. And in this case, I'm doing a say. Long story short, I'm going to save a copy as, and then I'm going to pick which folder I want to put this in. Mine is now in week two, so I'm going to move this over to week two. This is problem like 5-1. I'm going to say this is me in class. So all I've done is just make a copy with my new name, which is problem 5-1, and I'm going to say save. When you do a save copy as, it doesn't open it though. So I'm still, the one that I have open on my screen is still the original file. And I can just see that because it's problem 1-4 down here. So if I would have just done save, so the difference here obviously is if I just do save as, it will like rename this part as a new name. I tend to use save copy as. It's kind of like if you're sharing Excel spreadsheets with other people, you may save copy as so you're not messing up everybody's spreadsheet or something. So I do it the same way here. Save copy as. Now I just have to remember to go open it up. So I'm going to go open that file because it'll be living in my folder somewhere. It's my I saved copy as in my week two folder. 5-1 in class parts. So I open this up. Now I'm actually in my new saved as copy, and I can usually close out the one that I copied from. This is the way I kind of maintain integrity and don't mess up somebody else's work. And now I have a whole new part with a new name. It's 5-1. And then I just need to make the changes from 5-1, which I'll go to the assignment real quick here. And it's these, right? I need to change to these dimensions. And so it looks like it needs to be, I don't know what else changed. If I do like a little split screen here, I can maybe do a little cross compare. Looks like we maintain, here, I'll kind of move this over a little bit. If I look at this, looks like we maintain the 1.25 inch, 7 core. So this looks like this bevel changed to 1.25 inch instead of being this standard like 3/4 by 3/4. See that I've chosen to cut that with probably using projected geometry. And so your sketch probably looks a little different than mine, but or maybe it doesn't, but and then I need to change the length to 3 inches, or the width, I should say. That's the width in the front view, 3 inches. And then a 2 inch deep extrusion instead of 1 1/8 inches. And then it looks like I have some modifications to that cutout sketch. So pretty much a lot of stuff changed on it. So I'm just going to go through and see how this blows up on me. So I'm going to throw this over up on my other screen and work away here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my sketches that are showing. I think when I save my part, and you'll notice that however you save it, it'll kind of save that way. And then when you open it up, in this case, I had all my sketches turned on. So and I just did that when I saved it because I think I took some screenshots of it and saved it. But normally I won't. Normally this would be the way I would save my parts for turning into a library or whatever. I would turn off all my sketches and just have the part generally. So let's see here. So I'll just follow my sketch one. I'm gonna go in and start changing sketches before I start changing extrusions. So that's a pretty normal workflow. I'm actually gonna work on this. My sketch one was this, which might be what your sketch one is. You may not be constrained the way I am, but this is how I look like I've done a coincident constraint on the one corner of my part to the origin, which is how I've constrained mine in model space. And then I've got my dimensional constraints here, which really the only thing I need to change here is this thing has to be 3 inches. So I'll change that to 3. And that still stays 1 1/4 inch. Everything else stays the same. So really it's just one dimension change here. And then I get my longer part. And that didn't blow up on me. When I mean blow up, it'll be like the extrusion will have an error with it, and maybe has an exclamation point or something. And if that extrusion has an error, then these extrusions are probably all going to have an error as well. So you'll just kind of have a domino effect if that what I call blows up on you. And you have to go in now potentially. So every sketch that you change, there is a potential that you may have to go in and edit like the feature and kind of repick the profile potentially. Maybe it lost its profile and it doesn't know where it is. Um, yeah, then I'm definitely going to help you because yours will be different. Yours will be probably built different than mine, and so I'll come around and help. And maybe I'll finish doing my edits and see what else blows up on me. But like I was gonna try to see if I could like blow something up a little bit, but yeah, and it will be because we didn't build these together, so your sketches and builds are gonna be different than mine. But I will come around and help you for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I can push. I can push pause for a minute here. Let me re-record again here. Yeah, so mine is the same way. My next sketch would be this rectangular, which I need to change to I need to change this extrusion though. So let's do that first. So I know we've changed the sketch, but the extrusion for me also needs to change because we got to go out to 2 inches instead of the inch and whatever it is. So let me edit this feature next. So I fixed the sketch and I'm going to fix the feature. This needs to go to 2. So I'm going to say okay. Mine didn't blow up too much yet, so that's okay. that could just affect other sketches maybe also. Like, once you do that extrusion, if you had like constrained to the different side than I did on this next sketch, maybe it pulled it over there. I don't know. It's like however you constrained sketch two, it could have been affected by that extrusion change right there. But that's what, so then my next one is extrusion two is this, but I'm going to go into the sketch and fix it now. Mine's still working good because I can see the cut and I don't have any exclamation marks over here that things are blowing up. So if I go into I'm in my sketch now. I've got it turned on. Sorry, I'll turn it on. I'll turn it off. I just need to go in and edit my sketch. Mine has stayed constrained. So if you go into yours and yours has lost constraints, it could be that you were constrained to an edge that now we've moved it over. I don't know. If you have pink stuff show up, you'll know that is like an edge that's been lost. And usually I will delete that pink geometry because it's no good to me anymore. And I usually can't reconstrain the pink geometry. So I usually have to identify what moved that's pink if I needed it. Then I need to reestablish it maybe and redimension to it or something. And so I don't have any pink geometry here. Mine actually stayed constrained. So everything I've changed so far in my solid, which is really, these edges are still kind of the same edges they ever were that I was dimensioned off of. So that's why that didn't blow up. Because those are my original edges still. I just need to change this dimension to 1.25 inches. So it's same on the other direction, but this should be a 1.25. Yeah. So it's just a little longer cut in there. If I finish that, we haven't changed the height of this. So if you ended up doing that extrusion, I'll go in and edit this feature now just to show you. Mine is a through to this back side, but if you had if you had put in a 1/4 inch extrusion cut, it would still work fine because we haven't changed that dimension. So mine, I obviously had picked through to this side or through all. So no matter if I change this thickness, it's going to be cut through. But so that one didn't need change for me. And then the next thing for me is this sketch here on that face, which mine, I can tell my extrusion is through all too. That's why mine's cut through. And that's why on Lydia, on yours stops right here is because you had a dimensional, like the way this one is extruding and cutting through yours is because it's a dimension. So it's not cutting all the way through, which is okay. Let's look at the sketch though first. Here's my sketch. I'll edit it. Mine could be different than yours because for one, I only chose looks like to draw that line. It looks like I did draw that line, but it looks like I used this line um, for I just used that line as part of my projection because it's a solid line. It'll enclose this profile and I'll use it to cut. I could have changed these to both hidden lines or construction lines. Sorry, construction lines. And then I would have had to draw all three sides of that triangle to cut it. But these corners are still yellow because those corners are still the same corners that existed, so they haven't gone pink. They still know what they are. Even though the lengths or the extrusion has changed, it doesn't really matter. It hasn't affected those. So my projected lines are still yellow. That's good. My sketch is still constrained. So that's good. If it's not, you just need to reconstrain somehow. This dimension stays the same. This one becomes 1.25 here as well. And then, like I said, if I had this as a construction line, then this would not be a profile that we recognize to be cut. And in fact, I'll do that. I'll just turn that off for just a minute because normally I would have. It's funny that I left that one solid, even though that's not my normal practice. Normally I would have turned that to construction. If I do this, I should get a blow up though, because I've now lost a solid line. So this extrusion should feel lost. And I will get this oh, there's errors that occurred during the update. I'll usually accept these because I want to see what happened. And it's just like my extrusion goes red over here with an exclamation point, which means it has just lost. It doesn't have the same, the sketch isn't working the same way. If I go into the extrusion now, and go to you can hit recover. Sometimes it'll walk through it'll do a little troubleshooter for you. I'm not gonna do that here. If I did do that, let me see what it does. Yeah, it kind of says it says broken loop. So it does give you some indicator maybe what you've got to chase down. Sometimes it has some auto things that'll try to correct itself. I generally try to correct it myself. I'll go in to edit my feature, but the reality is I just don't have a profile that can cut anymore. So it's like I actually really need to fix the sketch. So I'm going to go in here to my sketch, but don't just delete it. Just kind of like if you ever have these blow up like this, you just got to kind of work through them. Check your sketches out. If I just add a line, it's here to here. Oh, I added like I slightly made a curved line. I don't know why. Let's try just a regular line. Oh, that's way better. Now this still probably won't. Oh, it will cut now. Yeah. And then if yours isn't cutting all the way through, it's just a matter of going into this extrusion, right? Editing this feature. And mine was a through cut. If yours was a dimensional cut, you can add the new dimension, whatever it will be. If you don't know what, like here's an like what would I do here? Oh, if I was going to change this, you can use like if you're in the middle and you don't know how long that is without doing some math, I can just do a quick measurement. I should be able to. Maybe not. Maybe here's what I will do. I can take a quick measurement when I'm outside of my sketch, measure from here to here, and it kind of gives you like this like list of different things that are associated with what the points I picked, which was just between two faces. Here's the distance is 2 inches. You can copy and paste here. So a lot of times I will use my measurement tool to like bring up this dialog box. And then I'll select like that and say just copy, Control C. And then I can just take measurements and then go into my extrusion, edit feature, and I can just paste those in here to these dialog boxes. Like so, if you're going to do that by a dimensional cut, which would work, or through all like I did. But what I want to say is a lot of times when I need to like if I'm building a formula in a dimension, or if I'm like that, if I'm going to change, I don't know. I use this a lot where I'll measure, copy and paste the dimension, copy, and then go paste it in on the next dialog box rather than have to like measure and then go in and type it in. Just copy and paste like the anyway, I do that a lot. Use my measurement tool to copy and paste those dimensions into another one. So what's that? You want me to measure this line here? Yeah, from here to here. I have 3/4. This one is done for the dimensions that I needed to switch it to. It's just a matter of putting it on a drawing, I guess, because week one we didn't have any on drawing. So if I'm going to do the drawing, it's just be Home tab drawing, a new English drawing right here, and see. I'll create that. It'll open up as a D size, so I'll immediately change that by right-clicking over here on the sheet itself. Because I could have a drawing with multiple different sheet sizes. Uh, Edit my sheet here, right? And that's when I get to this dialog box, which is A size, B size, sorry, B size. Okay. Yeah. I have a couple things open that I can add to there, but if I go to place my base view, you can also just you can place, I guess I didn't mention this either. You can browse and place something that's not just from a file that's closed even. So if you know what it is, which I like that you can get a preview of those if you start clicking them through here. You're looking through your files, but you can't remember what you named it, but you might be able to recognize it by the imagery. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't automatically open the one. You have to go back and open it. If you just do a save, yeah, it'll keep exactly. Yes, that you missed. Yeah, it does create a copy in a folder, but you have to go drive down and open it if you're going to save it as a copy. Yeah. If you just do a save, it will like rewrite over the name. And so, yeah, I think I just placed like these three views here and then the isometric view. So I just did my normal added a view label there and said okay, and that's all I did for this particular assignment. There is no hidden lines on this, I don't think, to even show. And if you change that to shaded, that's okay. Looks like I kept mine at just a 1-to-1 size too, but And I changed this to shaded, but and then I saved it as 5-1 in class. And that's the end of that one. I didn't put any title or anything on this one. No, I mean you can just remember where it is for sure, right? Remember going to your iProperties, whether you get to them here in iProperties or just from here in iProperties. Yeah, that's how you would go to your title. Just remember how to get to those boxes, even if we're not using them yet. We will. On our other template, I have them set up just a little bit different, and I'll show you that when we start using it next week. Um, but I was going to just keep the default templates for this week anyway. Yeah, this one's done. So that's 5-1.